Hi everyone, let me know if you guys can hear me. I'll also meanwhile check if the audio quality is good. Hi SRJ, so he's starting off directly with the question. So I think I have my earphone. So let me know if you guys can hear me well, right? So I don't have my earphones. I'm just checking output. I think I can hear some of the background noises. So he's starting off directly with the question. Okay, so I can hear myself. Looks good. So hi all, how are you? How are things? Hi Amit. Hi Rohit. Hi Ratna. Audio is good. Cool. Thank you for confirming. Thank you Rohit. So hi buddy. So my name is Ajay, by the way. I'm not Manish. Hi Tech Prem, could you please make a video on AWS CloudFront video? Sure, definitely I'll try, Amit. So hi SRJ. SRJ has been asking difference between thread pool and executor service. So thread pool is the older way of creating thread pools, right? And executor service is using that thread pool, right? So you can leverage the inbuilt concurrent API code for it. I mean, it's basically an abstraction, right? So executor service is an abstraction over thread pool, right? That's what I see it as. Hi Chaitanya. Hi Jerry. So let's give some time for people to join in, and then maybe you can give a think about any question. Sorry for the background audio. I think there are some firecrackers which are bursting, right? And you can hear that sound. Hi Akash. Hi Subnarsa. Hi Tanvi. So video on API testing using Python. Okay, so API testing I can try. I mean, there are some API testing tools like WireMock and stuff like that, but specifically for Python it should be the same, right? I mean, I don't think yeah, so you want to create Python code and then test the APIs using Python. I'm pretty sure you should get a lot of existing products which you can do. If you want to do it using Python, I would suggest it's like writing it from scratch, right? So I would suggest you to take a look at the existing products and then see if that fits. Hi Hamza. Hi from Morocco. Hi from India. How does one go from data engineering to Spring Boot? So data engineering, yeah, it's basically the data aspect of your product. Going from there to Spring Boot is basically your coding skill, right? From the data engineering you will have to move towards a implementation oriented guy or a solution oriented guy. That's when you can go towards Spring Boot or similar frameworks, right? So that's what I would suggest. Okay, so you primarily work on data engineering and you're suggesting you want to go to Spring Boot. Yeah, basically you should have hands-on knowledge. If you have hands-on knowledge, definitely try moving out of your data engineering space if you want to, or else you should show people what kind of hands-on knowledge you have and what are the different technologies you're working on, and you can move from there. Need help to understand how to test consumer producer code using embedded Kafka. Okay, so this you can definitely use. I think I have used embedded ActiveMQ, or you can use ActiveMQ in that case. But if you're using Kafka, I don't know if there are any new frameworks. It's been a while since I worked with Kafka, right? So I'm honestly not sure if there is embedded Kafka, right? If you want to test it with real-time Kafka, then you can definitely do that. You can have a test specific profile, you can have a test specific topic, and then you can have your producer and consumer publish messages over there, and then your test can consume messages from that topic, right? And then check. You can do that. But embedded Kafka, I don't know, I'm not sure if there is any existing product or any library which does that. So hi Sanjay, how are you? Hi Surya. Hi Vivek. Hi Snehit. Any strategy instead of having Splunk sidecar containers for each container? Yeah, see, the one common thing which people are trying to move towards in the Kubernetes space is running things as a sidecar, right? That way you don't have to have your daemon process running in a single container, right? Instead you can run it as a separate container, so you don't have to package things along with your application. You can just attach it to your container, right? Like what you're saying. like a sidecar. That's the pattern people are moving towards, and service mesh is adopting that kind of a pattern, right? If you want an alternative, you can directly embed that into your base Docker image, right? So if you want to stream your Splunk logs from your container to your external entities, then you can definitely have Splunk agents running within your base image itself. So you will have to create a base image for you where your Splunk agents will be running, and then you can plug that with your application. That way you don't have to run it as a sidecar. You can run it as a single instance of your container, and you can still stream. But that's the old fashioned way of doing it, and running it as a sidecar is a new fashioned way. So that way you can deploy these two different applications independently. Like let's say you want to upgrade Splunk, you can independently do that. You want to change from Splunk to something else, you can definitely do using the sidecar without changing your application. That's the benefit of having a sidecar. Hi Milan, hi from Serbia. Hey, Sanjay is saying, liked your recent stream processing example. Thank you, Sanjay. I hope it was pretty useful. Kindly create videos on system design on famous apps like Netflix. Sure, definitely. There are like a lot of videos in YouTube already, Sanjay, right? You might already know there are a lot of other YouTube channels which has created videos like that. I'm trying to see if there is anything which is not there, and I'm trying to create that. But yeah. Hi, is it Venkata is asking, hi, is it good to switch to data engineering as I want to? Currently I want backend API development. Please let me know. So if you look at the question asked by video or chart, right? So he wants to flip from data engineering to the backend API, and you are asking the other way around, right? So it's up to you, right? What kind of knowledge and what kind of interest you have. If you want to code, and if you want to do business specific logics and implementations with different frameworks, different platforms, etc., then you can be a API backend API development engineer. If you want to move away from coding and you want to be more data intense and data centric job or a role, then you can definitely switch to data engineering. Like I said, even for the data engineering, you need to do a lot of data specific analytics. You should have worked with different tools in terms of data engineering, and there are a lot of tools like Tableau or ClickSense, or you need to know how you can play with the data, right? So that's the basic thing there. So you need to know your data much better. I mean, if you ask him, he will tell you more. Yeah. Okay, which is the next? I missed it. Okay, Akash. Would you recommend Cloudflare free tier if I'm planning to launch my own small scale website? Yeah, so if there is a free tier, definitely try that. But definitely the Cloudflare's free tier will have a specific time period, right, Akash? I mean, check if that makes sense. Though it's a small scale website for you, who are your audience, right? If your website is down, will your audience be happy, right? If they are happy, then it's okay, right? I mean, that's what I would suggest you to take a look at. Okay, there are too many questions. I don't know how many people are watching right now. Okay, that's okay. I think 36 people, good. Milind is asking, hello Ajay, please provide your thoughts on below. Database per service, microservice, or common database? How to authorize if there are thousands of roles and endpoints? That's a very good question, Milind, right? The biggest reason why people move towards microservices, they want to have their own database, right? So that they can have their data which they control as their own, right? And if you want to have a common database, then you need to provide APIs, right? Or you need to provide data APIs. In the sense, you will have your database, and then you have your data API, which is exposing only the data from that particular database, right? Obviously, this particular model should not be exposed to multiple consumers, and thousands of applications shouldn't be using them. If you're doing that, then you're not creating your bounded context, right? For example, I'll give you a classic example, right? So if let's say you have an accounts table, right, and you want to expose the accounts table to a lot of people. Now, in order to expose the account tables, you're not going to expose the data directly, right? You're going to have some transformation logic, or you're going to have a what do you call it, bounded context for your account API, right, or the account table. Basically, a team owns that particular account table, and they are responsible for exposing APIs. They might expose it as a Spring Boot application, or maybe expose it with Golang or whatever, right? I mean, it could be their choice. The only differentiation what the consumer sees is the APIs. So the consumer knows that, okay, if I hit this API, I will get my account specific information. So you should provide only that, right? You should not worry about how many people are accessing that database. All those are abstracted with the API, right? That API should handle all the database per connection or common database or whatever, right? But if let's say you want to have a common reference database kind of a thing, even there you should expose it like a capability. Like I said, like the account API, you should have created a common API or a reference API, and a team should own it, and they should be able to authorize and authenticate, right? Now coming to the thousands of roles and endpoints, obviously you should have fine-grained entitlements for it. You cannot just like that say if you have read-only role, then you have access to all the APIs, right? So you should have a fine-grained access control. You can definitely use OAuth, right? If you look at Google's API, right? If you want to consume YouTube API, let's say, right, you will have to create a Google account, and then you will be able to configure which API accesses which and what are the different roles you can configure to it. So for a team, if let's say they are going to use 5 different endpoints, you can use the same role, and then you can assign different services to that particular role, right? So you can definitely configure and authorize it. In order to do that, your authentication system should have this capability, right? So you cannot have that capability within your application. Your authentication system should have that kind of a capability. So I would suggest you to take a look at that for authorization. Okay, great question. So Vivek is asking, can you suggest a good way to learn data structures? I mean, if you ask me, how did you find tech primers, right? So did somebody suggested you, or did you go and Google out yourself in YouTube, right? Or search in YouTube? So I would definitely ask you to search for data structures playlist in YouTube. Check if a particular channel makes sense. If you are still not satisfied, go to another channel. Have multiple channels, follow multiple channels, and that's how you should do. And try those examples, right? I mean, try those data structure samples in your laptop, and then upload that code to GitHub. You can maybe like come back and revisit after 6 months or maybe 1 year down the line, right? Or maybe later as well. So that's what I would suggest you do, the hands-on part as well, and start off with maybe YouTube, or if you're good with reading documentation, I would suggest directly go to Google and search for data structures tutorials. So those are the free resources which I'm talking about. Yeah. So Amit is asking, how can we grab more information from official documentation? Like I'm in probation period of my job, so would you suggest any learning techniques? So that comes with experience, Amit, right? So there is no easy way to extract knowledge. If you ask me, how can we read a single book overnight to clear tomorrow's exam in college, right? We cannot do that. The only way you can clear an exam is when you have attended your sessions, or when you have attended your college lectures. There will be key terms which you can grasp from the lecture, right? So those are the key terms using which you can maybe easily identify and grab more information and concentrate on something which is useful or which is going to be useful. Apart from that, I mean, if you do some basic work, and if you are a pro in reading documentation, you will realize what is required and what is not, right? There could be basic prerequisites which might not be required. There could be implementation logic which may be or may not be required, right? And you should be able to search the documentation well, right? That's what I feel you should do, right? Cool. Next question is from Rohit. Can you create a video showing the best way to use caching in Spring Boot app using Redis or Aerospike? I think I did a video on Redis, Rohit. Let me share my screen. So if you search for, see, the easiest way to search, I don't know how many people know this trick. The easiest way to search a channel is go to that particular channel, and there will be a search bar in the right side. Click on that search bar and then type whatever string you wanted to search with, and then you will get the search filtered only from this particular channel, right? So that way you can easily identify what all videos are there, what all videos are not there, and things like that from that particular channel. Now if you search for Redis, you see that I have a video on Spring Data Redis, using which I have used Spring Boot with Redis, right? So this could be a good example for you to start, but the only downside is this video I made 3 years ago, Rohit. So this will be using Spring Boot 1.5. It may not be using the latest versions, but I assume these should be working still, right? I mean, maybe there are like minor annotation level changes, but this should help you with quick start in integrating your app with Spring Boot with Redis, right? Aerospike, I agree. I have not done full-fledged hands-on video for Aerospike, but I just covered the basics, right, on what is Aerospike and things like that. But if you follow one particular video in this model of using a cache, it should be the same for Aerospike as well. So it should be easy for you to just try out, right? That's what I feel, Rohit. I mean, try that. Yeah, that should work. I mean, if you expect everything to be there in YouTube and the internet, it will be difficult for you to grasp things later at some point in time. So I would suggest you to use videos or tutorials or official documentation for just helping guide, and then put some of your thoughts, and then maybe recreate or maybe try something else, right? That's what I would suggest. Can you upload this video? Yeah, this video will be uploaded, buddy, or Chad, I don't know your name, but yeah, this video will be uploaded after the stream is down. It will be uploaded. You can see the other live streams as well in the channel. Is there any advantage of having a name server with Cloudflare? Radha, I have not used Cloudflare. I don't know. I'm afraid I cannot answer this question. I've never used Cloudflare, so I don't know. Name server Cloudflare. I'm not sure, man. Okay, there are too many questions. Let me hang around. Hi, champ. Hi, Mohammed. How are you? Hi, Vishal. Is there any framework to create analytics for GraphQL API? You can use Hasura, right? If you Google for Hasura, I presume you can see my screen. So go to Hasura. Hasura is a GraphQL. It exposes data from your Postgres and it exposes it as a GraphQL API. And I can assume that it provides some of the analytics endpoints and it creates queries out of your database automatically, I feel, right? But I don't know if it can do something like an API, APG, right, or an API gateway, right? Vishal, that's what you're asking, I believe, right? You wanted to get some stats out of the API consumption and things like that. Recently, GitHub started using GraphQL, right? I would suggest you to take a look at GitHub GraphQL API. Maybe you can get some hint on what tool they are using, what open source libraries which they are using. Just take a look at the GitHub GraphQL API. I mean, that's how you can identify a lot of new tools. Okay, currently we have our name servers with GoDaddy, right? So I also have my techprimus.com with GoDaddy, but yeah, Cloudflare, I don't know. I have not used Cloudflare. I know it's a CDN, but I didn't know they provide hosting as well. Okay, your website is hosted on Hostinger. Got it. So I know Cloudflare used to do CDN level stuff, but I don't know in terms of how much cost variation you get with both GoDaddy and Cloudflare. Okay, now I get your other question. Hey Mohammed, which ID you suggest, STS or IntelliJ, and why? So if you had followed my channel for I think more than 3 years, I always used IntelliJ, right? That has been my primary driver. I have been using IntelliJ from 2012. So it's almost 8 years. So I've been using IntelliJ and I have never turned back, right? So it's an developer-centric IDE. That's what I felt. STS is more useful when you are using Spring Boot and Spring-specific projects, but IntelliJ is overall combo kind of a thing, right? So you can use multiple languages with the same IDE, and also it provides a lot of different features even with the free tier, right? So that's where I felt IntelliJ is much better. Okay, this is done. So Rajneesh is asking which company you work for. I generally don't answer that question, Rajneesh, online, because things keep changing, right? I mean, like everybody does. So I would suggest you to take a look at my LinkedIn profile. I will share my LinkedIn profile in a bit. Okay, let me. So I have a profile, so I need to check. So I'll share my LinkedIn profile. You can take a look at from there. But don't ask anything specific to my job. I will never answer that, because I'm just doing this as a hobby. I'm not doing this full time. So I do respect everybody's privacy, and you should respect mine. So I pinned this post, so you can take it from there. Okay, what was the next question? Okay, Manu is asking, hey, need to learn AI. Can you focus on that? Okay, I also need to learn AI, Manoj. right? I presume Manoharan. Okay, I also need to learn AI Manoharan. So the only thing is there are too many other things to concentrate right now these days, with cloud evolving a lot, with serverless and containers taking most of the industry share, right? So I would say I'm mostly into the containers and the serverless space. AI maybe right now I might not concentrate, but if you want to quickly start AI, then definitely you should definitely be able to find an alternative channel similar to what I'm doing, right? Specific to AI. Which tool do you use for monitoring application health, like AppDynamics? So I generally use a lot. It depends on your strategy and depends on the team you work for, depends on the kind of application you work for. I have used Dynatrace. I have used, in fact, the easiest way to get to know all the tools is you can go to landscape.cncf.io. So I'll show you what are the tools which I have been using. So this summarizes all the open source tools which are available in the industry, right? Specifically for monitoring. Okay. If I click on observability and monitoring, so I have used, so for example, see here, right? I mean, if you're using AWS, you will definitely use CloudWatch, but then from CloudWatch, you will be ideally pushing it into AppDynamics or maybe Dynatrace. I have used Dynatrace. I have used CloudWatch. I have never used these. These are something new which I'm hearing. Azure Monitor is something which is specific to Azure. Beats is specific to Elastic. If you're using the Elastic stack, you will be using Beats to monitor the health. What else? Datadog, I use Datadog a lot as well. So Dynatrace, Datadog. Google Stack Driver is specific to Google Cloud. You would have seen me showing some examples with Google Cloud. I also use Grafana and Prometheus. In most of the cases, you use Prometheus and Grafana if there is open source stack, right? Obviously Prometheus uses InfluxDB in the background. I have not used Instana, but I hear a lot of good positive things about Instana. Same with logz.io. Kiali is specific to Kubernetes. I mean, there are too much these days. New Relic, I know I have seen their product, but I've never used it. Prometheus, I have used it. OpenMetrics is something new which was created recently. Man, there are like too many. It's been a while since I came to this page, but there are too many products here. I saw Thanos, but I have not used it again. So if you look at the overlap, what everybody gets, I mean, everybody will be working in some product or the other, Sanjay, right? So I majorly use whatever I just told you. So yeah. Venkata is asking, hi, in general REST API calls are such that each API request or call is separate flow of thread and it is stateless. So in this case, how can there be a race condition? Example please. So the race condition happens when you have a common resource which your API is accessing. For example, if there is a specific account, for example, I have a Netflix account, let's say, right? I'm using the same Netflix account, you're also using the same Netflix account, let's say, and we're trying to do some payment at the same time. So race conditions happen when there are calls like these, and also there is a third person who's logging in, right? So most of the time race conditions happen when you have complex logics within the API and your business logic. It is not specific to your thread flow or stateless or stateful APIs, but the way your application is designed in terms of interactions within your system, right? So interactions within your architecture, within your application, within your API implementation, right? So that's where race conditions happen. So you cannot generally say that race conditions will not happen with APIs or something like that, but it depends on your implementation, right? So I cannot generalize saying it will not happen or it will happen. But yeah. Hi Kaustav, how are you? How often would you suggest to move from load balancer written in Spring to move to any container specific load balancer in large scale microservices architecture? This is another very good question, Kaustav. I don't know if somebody asked you in an interview or something, but yeah, so when will I move from so if you ask me the other way around, when will I go from a traditional load balancer to a Spring based load balancer which is written as an application, right? So I will generally not do that because I will leave the load balancing to the experts. It could be Nginx or it could be the cloud platform itself. For example, if you're using Amazon, you will be using ALBs or ELBs, right? So I would leave the load balancing to those platforms. Same with the Spring, same with Kubernetes, right? So in terms of Kubernetes, I might be using some ingress controller using Nginx or maybe Contour, right? So I will leave the load balancing to those platforms, right? But if let's say specifically I want to use load balancing, then I might go towards something like service mesh, right? So if I have like too many microservices within my architecture and I want to have applications routed within my cluster itself, and I want to have load balancing integrated, I will definitely go towards envoy kind of a thing, right? So which is written specifically for proxying requests within your clusters, right, in Kubernetes, right, or specifically within containers, right? So I would definitely go with envoy kind of a thing. I would rather skip Spring or something similar to that, because I need to maintain that particular application, right? So I may not be an expert with load balancing, so I will have to learn that, and then it's a costlier affair when we maintain something which is not our forte, right? So I would definitely go towards envoy kind of a thing. Take a look at envoy. If you don't know what is envoy, it's envoy. It was created by a company called Lyft, right? So it's an open source proxy. With service mesh, most of the people are using envoy. If you look at Istio, Google uses envoy for it. Most of the service meshes uses envoy. I have a plan to make envoy video, but I don't know when it is going to come. But there are too many things to handle these days. But yeah, great question, Kaustubh. Next question is from Chandan. Chandan is asking, how do I add my custom roles in to JWT in? So you will have to add that with your authentication server, right? I mean, if you're using OAuth 2, who is providing you the authentication, right? I mean, there should be an authentication server. You will have to configure that with your authentication server, right? So Udemy courses by Raghavendra Dixit is the best for data structures. Yeah, somebody asked the question, Manoj, here is your answer. So Sunny is asking, hi sir, please make video on how to be consistent on work or while learning. See, there are a lot of other YouTubers who are making those kind of content. I generally do hands-on stuff, Sunny. So I'm not a pro in explaining and making people understand how things work, or I'm not that kind of a person. I'm just mostly techie, and hands-on is my passion. So that's why I do a lot of hands-on videos. Even in the channel, I sometimes do a lot of presentation kind of videos. I generally try to avoid it, but then you cannot go to hands-on without knowing the basics, right? And that's when I do those kind of videos. But yeah, ask for somebody else. Sorry, man. Is Laravel a good backend for native mobile app? I don't know. I have used PHP like 10 years ago, Yusuf. Right now I'm out of the PHP landscape. I know Laravel is a new framework with the PHP backend, but I'm not sure how they are serving well for the mobile native apps. Thank you, Rohit. My pleasure. Prashant, hey, for Java developer, which path is good for future? DevOps one or React Angular one? It depends what is your interest, Prashant, right? I mean, obviously both the jobs are going to be like paying you high. I mean, you cannot like say I will be paid high in DevOps or I will be paid high with React or Angular, right? So it's up to you. It's your wish, right? I mean, it's like asking 10 years ago if Java is going to be there or something, right? So it's something like that. So it's going to be there. DevOps is going to be there. React and Angular is going to be there. Maybe React and Angular might be replaced with some other tool. Same with DevOps. DevOps is just a process, right? I mean, internally within DevOps, you might have a lot of different tools, cloud platforms, etc. So I would say you should choose both, right? If I were you, I would choose both, and I'm doing that as well. So yeah. Can you make video on envoy proxy implementation? Yeah, like I said, Vignesh, I had that in my plan, but we'll see. I don't know when I will do it. All right, maybe in the future. Now that I've started doing EKS videos, I will do Istio, and then once I start Istio, then I can do envoy specific videos. Abhijit is asking, is there any API to fetch customer bank details like balance, transaction details? Obviously every bank provides these APIs and they own them. Obviously they are not going to expose it to everybody. They might expose it to some vendors and things like that. But you should be like a partner or something, I guess. So definitely there are APIs, right? And these are APIs which are specific. So you cannot access every API which everybody has, Abhijit. But if you want to try out any API, there are tons of API. Just search for public APIs or use Rapid API. I have made a video on that as well. If you want to use just APIs for POCs and stuff like that, definitely use Rapid API to identify what APIs are there. I had made a video, I think 1 year ago. A lot of people are leveraging it. It's pretty good. Hey Jerry, as a senior developer at 56 years, I would like to retrograde back to junior developer. Is this a delusion? Yeah, that's what I would say, Jerry. I mean, it's if you ask me, if I become 56 years and then if I look back at the juniors at that time, people might be maybe doing AI development, right? I mean, they might be just dragging and dropping things, and then products might be created in the future, right? So at that time, we might be looking at I might be looking at the code implementation and the hardcore logics, right? So that's what is happening, right? I mean, there is a general generation gap. I think it should be okay, because things are like evolving much faster, right? I mean, it's up to us how are we coping up with that particular change, right? So I would say take them as your competitor and then try to like exceed, right? I mean, learn more, right? I mean, for your experience, comparing you with a junior developer doesn't make sense, but your work experience is what matters, right? I mean, and with your work experience, what are you trying to achieve, or where are you trying to go, and what are your learning curve, and how are you upgrading yourself, right, in terms of achieving that. That's what matters, right? I wouldn't say you should compare yourself with junior engineers. If you ask me, like, a lot of junior engineers are making more money than me, right? I mean, do I care? I mean, it sometimes, but you should be like looking at you where you stand, right? That's what matters in the end of the day. Dupala is asking how session management is achieved when we have microservices behind load balancer. That's another great question, buddy. You will have to manage it, right? So the load balancer will not do session management. The load balancer will just do routing, right? You will have to make sure you manage the sessions. Either you use a Redis for storing some session ID, or you can use like any other cache or any cache implementation for it. But you should handle that in your application, right? So that's what matters. So your application should either have the state within the application, or it should have the state outside your application, like storing it in Redis or something like that. So yeah, that's how you should implement. So you should have that in the application. There are frameworks for it. There was one called Spring Redis session. So this was a framework using which you can do session management with Redis, right? You can use Spring Session. It's called Spring Session, and it can store the data in Redis, or you can configure. I don't know what is the current version now, but I had used it like I think 3 years ago. It makes sense. Like, you can store the session ID there, and then you can retrieve it from different instance of your application. Though your load balance will route your traffic to different instances, so that helps. So you can try this Spring Session. I don't know if you have heard of Spring Session, but that's what you're looking for, I think. Hey Lakshmi, can you please make some video on testing resilience of microservices? Okay, that makes sense. I mean, that's a good one. I mean, how do I check the resiliency of my microservices? There is one, actually. If you look at resiliency, what is resiliency, right? I mean, there are some resilience and fault tolerance examples like Hystrix, which I had made. There are Hystrix, load balancers, circuit breaker patterns. I mean, you can check these, right? I would suggest you to check these videos. Okay, but yeah, I mean, let me know if something is missing. I can definitely try, because not everything can be shown in a hands-on example. All right, I mean, some things could be theoretical, but if you have an understanding, it should make sense. Okay, there are too many questions, right? I saw your service mesh video. Does Linkerd or Istio Envoy replaces Spring Cloud tools? That's a very good question, Srinivas. I would say yes and no. Right, I mean, a lot of people who are in the Kubernetes space, they can use service mesh, and that will replace Spring Cloud tools, right? So that you don't have to deploy stuff on your own. But if you're not using Kubernetes, or if you cannot deploy a service mesh kind of a framework or an implementation in your deployment, definitely Spring Cloud is going to help you, right? Obviously, everything has its own upsides and downsides. Running your own service mesh implementation or your framework like in Linkerd or Istio is going to cost you a bit. But compared to the Spring Cloud tools, does it make sense? Like, how many Spring Cloud tools are you using? Are you using many, or are you using very less number of Spring Cloud tools? That's what matters, right? So it's a give and take, right? It's not going to replace both, but you can definitely replace them, right? Great question. Yusuf. Okay, Yusuf is answering the question of Radharaman. So Cloudflare plus provides analytics plus free SSL firewalls CDN, and will recommend you to use it. So looks like Cloudflare provides it, buddy. You can use it. Which API gateway do you recommend? There are based on servlets. Servlets, both Spring Cloud Gateway and Zool supports only reactive server. So There are a lot of API gateway products as well, Vishal, right? For example, APG is one API gateway, Kong is one API gateway. These are API gateway, pure play API gateways, right? So if you search for API gateways, you will definitely get these products, right? I mean, every company has their own API gateway these days. Like Kong, not Kong, I think, what was that? Was it Kong? Yeah, it's Kong only. So Kong API gateway is one. You can use APG. APG is a product which was bought by Google, which is again another API management tool. You can do API gateway as well there. But if you want to host your application as an API gateway, then obviously Spring Cloud Gateway is going to be there. Spring Cloud Gateway internally uses Zool, right? So that's what it uses, right? Okay, so you're saying that it supports only reactive servers. Yeah, that's where things are moving towards, right? So yeah, if you don't want them, then definitely go for something like APG or Kong. Any resources for RX Java for Spring Cloud Gateway? I don't know. I generally follow the RX Java GitHub repo, right? This one, the Reactive X RX Java, but I don't know if that makes sense. I've never worked extensively with RX Java. I have tried here and there, even in production, but I'm not sure. I felt the documentation is much more intense, right? I mean, this is more than enough, I felt. Rajesh, I mean, try this, Rajesh. I mean, go to Google, search for React RX Java, go to this GitHub link, right? github.com/reactive RX Java. Hey Avinash is asking where to learn Pivotal Cloud Foundry. I had done some videos on Cloud Foundry, Rajesh. You can check them. So see that, right? I mean, I have some even playlist on Cloud Foundry. So there are like 6 videos in it, right? So earlier I made a lot of videos on Cloud Foundry and I used to deploy to Cloud Foundry, right? You can check them. So Revit is asking, sir, hello sir, can you post videos for GraphQL with Spring Reactive? Sure, definitely I'll try, Revati. I've been like concentrating more on cloud these days, right? So it's a mixture of cloud and Spring Boot and stuff, because a lot of new channels have come in YouTube which are doing already Spring Boot specific videos, right? So I'm trying to create unique content in the channel, so that's why I'm trying to move away from Spring Boot and doing a lot of cloud specific stuff, right? So that's the whole idea. So it will be a mixture of both, because if you're doing cloud and with demos, you cannot do away with demos without using Spring or anything, right? So I will try to see if I can use GraphQL or something in any of those cloud specific videos. I'll definitely try, Revati. Is there any certification you can suggest for future career perspectives? I mean, I'm not a fan of certificates, but one certificate which I liked recently and I did is the Kubernetes certificate, the CKAD. It was a hands-on certificate. Any Kubernetes certificate is hands-on. So I felt like hands-on certificates are worth than a theoretical or theory-oriented certificate, right? So that's what I would suggest. I don't have any specific preference, travel lover, but yeah, it depends on your job role. That's what I would say. Vishal, is it safe to auto-wire HTTP servlet in Spring Boot in terms of thread safety? I need the request object in places like customer detail service in Spring Security where I set request. Nobody, I don't know. I'm not an expert in that level of question in terms of code and things like that. Definitely Google out or ask in the Stack Overflow, Vishal. I may not be answer you like all 100% or 100 all the questions, but yeah. Can we use Cassandra as a driver in Spring Batch? Yeah, you can use that using Spring integration, Sriram. Search for Spring integration with Cassandra. You can definitely plug that. And Spring Batch in Spring Batch, I don't know if Spring Batch integrates with Spring integration. I doubt. But you can definitely have your custom driver, right? I mean, you can plug that in. You can override the custom driver implementation and then have your Cassandra driver plugged in there, I believe. Can you create an end-to-end small application in Spring Boot with basic UI? Okay, I don't know if you have seen this particular video, Ajay. Microservices. So I have done a video 3 years ago which covers whatever you're asking, an end-to-end application with an architecture. In fact, I can show you what the architecture looks like, right? So that was one of the videos I spent a lot of time on, and I feel good about that, so I'll show you that. So it was called stock price viewer. So this is the architecture diagram, right? I mean, if you're curious, I will show you that on screen. This is the architecture diagram, right? So you have a user with a web UI, there's the API gateway service registry. All these are in this particular example, and this video was made 3 years ago by me, so you can definitely take a look at that, Ajay. So search for stock price viewer or search for microservices, this one. Search for microservices in my channel and you should be able to see this video, designing microservices using Spring Boot, Sling Cloud. This is an end-to-end video. There are 2 parts to it. This is the first video, so you should be able to do that. Have you tried migrating SOAP REST to gRPC just to accommodate Istio? No, I have not done that, Michael. Right, and how much of an effort it will be? Obviously, it's going to take a lot of effort because you're going to rewrite your API. Because SOAP and REST are completely different. I cannot like give you an estimate, but it's going to be like significant, but it may not be like that significant in terms of moving data and things like that. But yeah, it's going to be a significant effort. Depends on the number of APIs you have as well. Can we use Spring framework in Apache Beam or data engineering? Data engineering is a term. I don't think it's a tool, right? I mean, obviously you can definitely use Spring framework for doing some batch processing or implementation, right? But there are other frameworks which are equipped for high latency sensitive data operations. Like, I mean, you can use Apache Beam. Obviously Apache Beam doesn't directly use Spring. You can definitely use Spring libraries within it, but you cannot directly use it as a Spring Boot or something like that. But you can definitely use Spring. Spring is just a library, right? I mean, you can use it. Spring Boot is a framework. So there is a difference between Spring and Spring Boot. Can you please let me know if we can send any mail for any specific tech question to you? So you can definitely send. A lot of people take this as an advantage. That's what I would say, you Venkat. I mean, like sometimes I stop responding to people. They take too much advantage in terms of asking questions, and they expect me to respond immediately, right? So you should respect my time as well, right? I'm not doing this for money or something, so you should respect that. You can definitely mail me your question. I will definitely respond. Hi Raghu. Is it good to switch from Java to big data, or if not, please suggest what I need to learn? So I would say no big data as well. I don't think you need to switch from Java to big data. I would say you can work on big data with Java as well, right? I mean, that's what you can do. Right. In terms of learning new stuff, cloud, I mean, if you're interested in cloud, you can definitely do it. If you're interested in UI, you can definitely learn UI. If you're interested in both, you can definitely learn both, like what I'm doing. So you can do that. Hi Ankur, can you please create a Spring Boot app doing distributed transaction management using Bytronics and Atomic Cause? I mean, I don't know. I have not heard about these terms, buddy. It looks like Greek and Latin for me. I don't know if you check the documentation. If it is too complex, I can definitely try it out. But I don't know how many people will use it, right? I mean, if I make a video as well, how much it will make sense, that I don't know. Is there any certification for Spring Cloud microservices? Is it worth doing in pivotal certification for Spring? Yeah, if you're going to work only on microservices and only on Spring Boot, then it makes sense, right? But yeah, certification, like I said, if it is not hands-on, I don't know how much worth it is. What is MDA? Okay, I've not heard of it. Model-driven architecture. Yeah, this is what model-driven architecture is basically the bounded context. Obviously, this is the base for your microservices development, right? I mean, if you are creating a microservice, you need to create your model or your API, right? Model is nothing but the skeleton of what your API is going to give or provide, right? So these are also called as contracts, right? And also what kind of data your microservice is going to store in the database, right? So all those are the model-driven architecture. So it says that you're going to create microservices based on the type of model and your business logic or your business or bounded context, right? That's what it means. Cool. So any idea why do we go for Camel with Spring Boot? Yeah, so Camel was created before Spring integration came into picture, right? If you are already using Camel, then if you're moving towards Spring Boot, you will be using Camel with Spring Boot. But if you're creating something like an integration pattern newly with Spring Boot, I would suggest you to use Spring integration, right? So I don't see any other benefit with Camel. The only benefit with Camel is you can be away with Spring ecosystem, right? If you're using Camel, you don't have to worry about using Spring Boot with it, right? So that's the next question is there any possibility of possibility to remain developer forever? I mean, I have the same question as well, Manish. If you figure that out, let me know. I don't think you can stay a developer forever. That's what I have realized in my career. Somebody is just spamming. I don't know who is that. Okay, let's get to it. I mean, I'll stop the stream in maybe like another 10 minutes or something. It's too much, right? I mean, if it is more than 1 hour, I don't think anybody watches it after the record goes live. Hamza is asking, if you create a big Spring microservices project, would you prefer to use Netflix OSS or Istio? That's a great question. If I'm creating multiple microservices and if I'm going to deploy it in Kubernetes, then I will definitely use Istio. But if I'm not going to deploy it in Kubernetes, then definitely I will prefer using Netflix OSS, right? So that's what I would do. PCF is good to learn, but it's outdated now. Yeah, I don't want to say that, but yeah. Can we use Kubernetes, Ansible, and Chef all at the same time in e-commerce site? If yes, how? Okay, so this is like you are asking me to create an e-commerce website, Adi, right? See, obviously you can use it. Ansible is for orchestrating, and same way Chef is for orchestrating your deployment. If you are specifically asking e-commerce site, you need to come up with what is your architecture, then you will have to provision your infrastructure, right? If you ask a question like this, it's very difficult to answer within 5 minutes. You can definitely take a look at videos on Devops specific channels, right? There are a lot of channels in YouTube. Congrats on SCKD. How was it hard? How did you prepare for it? How long did it take for you to prepare? So in fact, I have a blog around that, Hamza. Go to medium.com/techprimers and I have a blog. I have written a blog on how I cleared that exam and how I prepared and things like that. So this is the one. If you are interested, I can paste that link in the description as well. Okay, it's not description. I got used to saying description, but this is in the comment chat. So I'll paste it in the chat. Take it from there, Hamza. So yeah. Sharif is saying, I'm trying to build a chat app using Spring Boot, RabbitMQ, MongoDB. YouTube videos are suggesting me to use Google's Firebase real-time DB. Please talk about your views on my project. Okay, you're going to create a chat application. So obviously when you're creating a chat application, you need to have instant firing of synchronization of your data from your database to your UIs. Obviously Google Firebase is good in that. That's why it is a real-time database. But it's up to you, right? I mean, how quick your chat application is going to be and how easy are you going to use that particular application. For example, Firebase, you can use Firebase when your chat application is going to be across mobile and also for web. That's where Firebase is good, right? If you don't want to use Firebase and you want to keep it outside your cloud space, right? So from your tech stack, I feel you're not using any cloud provider, right? With RabbitMQ, Spring Boot, MongoDB, Vue.js. If you're not using any cloud platform, it doesn't make sense to use Google Firebase, right? It makes sense to use MongoDB. So it's up to you. I would say if you want to go towards a cloud specific implementation or infrastructure, then you can definitely leverage Google Firebase and leverage the other Google cloud specific implementations or infrastructure and things like that. If you're creating everything on your own, I would suggest sticking to MongoDB and Vue.js, right? I mean, if you're just creating it for your own purpose. Can you make one video on Spring Batch with a real-time example if possible? I made one video on Spring Batch Travel Lover, but I don't know if it will make sense for you, right? I work on big data with Java, Apache Beam. Oh, nice, Manish. Good to know. Yeah, see, you can work on big data with Java as well, with Apache Beam. Here is your example. Shriram is asking, would Spring Batch run become heavy if it has to make a REST API call along with Oracle Cassandra hits and then Kafka? Obviously, yes, it will become heavy, right? I mean, when you are having integration points and how much time that API takes, if that matters, then definitely it's going to be heavy, Shriram, right? So it's up to you. Sangeeta has been spamming our chat. Can you make a image button JS? Okay, I mean, I don't make a lot of UI videos. I don't know how you got to know Tech Primers and then you're asking this question. Definitely you can make an image button in JavaScript. But you're supposed to do practical how to implement distributed in microservices using Saga pattern. Okay, fact news. I mean, like, I thought you forgot it, but it's been a long pending thing. But this cloud thing has been swallowing a lot of my time, right, in the recent times. I'll apologize for that, but I don't know when I'll make it, to be honest. Do you think microservices is a right direction for building a system? I think it makes sense, right, in some cases, right? I mean, in some cases it might not. If you want to know why people are moving away from microservices, read about Istio, why they went from um, microservice to monolith. Istio is a monolithic application, right? Istio is an example of when not to do microservices. So if you guys are interested, read this article, why they went away from microservices, right? So for them it made sense to move away from microservices, but yeah, it's up to your use case. I'm heartbroken, Manisha. It's a pleasure to see you for the first time and see you are good and nice man. Thank you very much, Hamza. Yeah, in the recent times I've been doing a lot of live Q&A with the camera on. I have now a monitor, so it's easy for me to flip between them, right? So I could not appreciate the benefits of the CQRS. Do you suggest any links to learn that properly? Go to microservices.io, right? Or generally search for CQRS. I see a lot of new articles in Medium these days which are like much better. So read about CQRS from Martin Fowler. They are amazing, right? I mean, he writes good articles. Do you have any tutorial of microservices with Apache Camel and Spring Boot? No, I don't have anything. I don't have anything second. Can you please create multi-transaction rollback using Saga architecture with micro? Yeah, I mean, like fake news, or who was that? Fact News was already asking it. It's a matter of time, Jack. If you already know how to create a microservice, you can definitely orchestrate it using Saga architecture, right? Most of the time people just look at my video and then just hit the like button or dislike button and walk away, but I would suggest you to try them out so that it's easy for you and you can also create something what I'm doing, right? So that's the whole idea. Hi Vamsi, he says, I would like to thank you. I'm learning new things always. Thank you very much, Vamsi. Glad to know that you're always learning new. That was the whole idea of the channel, try a new technology, and hope that's useful. Thank you, Michael. Thanks for the help. So Jagdish is asking how to prepare for interview for an architect role. If you had followed all my videos in tech primers, you can definitely be prepared for an architect role, because I don't generally concentrate only on the implementation part, but also on the basics and how you can do in terms of architecture and taking decisions and things like that. So definitely I feel like if you follow my videos, you should be a good architect. So which cloud technology should I learn, AWS or PCF or GCP or Azure? First, I would say go for something which is relevant for you in the job. If you're using Azure, try Azure. If you're using AWS, then try AWS. If you want to start off very quickly, go for PCF, but from PCF is very small, right? It's a platform as a service. You can move away from PCF and then go to AWS or GCP or Azure, right? So that's how I started. I started with PCF, then moved towards Google Cloud, then I did AWS. Now I'm doing Azure. So that's how you should do. So great session. You have been addressing almost all queries. Yeah, Radha Raman, I have been addressing all the queries. It's not almost all, but almost everything. That's why I have less people in the live, right? That's what makes it possible. So the good that I'm able to answer almost everything. Some of them I don't know, I cannot like address them, but yeah, makes sense, I feel. Thank you very much, guys. I think 52 people are watching. Thank you very much for joining the live stream. I hope it was useful. I mean, I generally don't say or suggest people to share stuff, but if you feel that the channel makes sense, do generally share this with your friends or colleagues. I'm pretty sure it's going to be helpful, because whatever I'm trying to make is all relevant for me in my job, right? So I would say it should be useful for you as well, right? So yeah. Okay, last couple of questions. Is 9 lakh per annum CTC good, or should I drop my placement and go for a Gate CSE? I mean, like, I'm not here to talk about what you should get and things like that, Ashish. Just to put things in perspective, my first salary I got paid like, I think 2,75,000. That was my CTC when I got placed in my college. I mean, it's up to you, right? I mean, I took it. What is the best for making DFD? What is that? And whatever I was saying, that was 10 years ago, Ashish, right? I mean, things could be different. If you ask somebody from Amazon, he might be saying his CTC is like 20 lakhs or something, right? I mean, if you compare yourself with others, I mean, you will never go anywhere. Data flow diagram. Okay, DFD is data. What is the best? Okay, you can use draw.io, Nashwa. You can use that. Balakrishna is saying thank you, I have learned a lot from the channel, and also suggesting my friends to go through. Thank you very much, buddy. I mean, thanks. Good to know that it's useful. How to modularize a legacy application? Shashi Kumar, you should take a look at my video on Strangler application. So Strangler is an application pattern using which you can migrate your legacy application into microservices. I mean, this is a video which is going to help you, Shashi. Thank you, Venkata. Thank you everyone for joining. Can you make a hands-on on ESB? ESB is like almost old Sunandan, right? That's the honest thing. There are like Mule and stuff which are like now in the market, but I would stick with cloud for now. Right, your videos are all helpful. Thanks for your time. Thank you, Venkata. Thanks for that. Oh, DFT is that data flow diagram. Yeah, I just googled out, buddy. Thank you for helping out. But yeah, I just wanted to thank everyone who had joined the stream. I hope it was useful. I wanted to keep even the live sessions useful. That's why I'm answering all the questions, right? And I'm trying to give more and more to you as well, right? So I hope it was useful. Do let me know if there is anything, if you need to improve, if I need to improve in the channel, or if you're looking forward for something. Drop me a mail or have a comment in any of my video. I read everything, and there is no second person. I just control the whole channel, so I know what I'm reading, what you're typing. So who's saying? Balaji saying you're doing a great job. I have benefited a lot from you. Thank you very much, Balaji. Good to know that. Thank you, Abhi. Can you make video on design patterns with real-time use cases? I tried Travel Lover. Nowadays, a lot of people are moving away from design patterns because Spring kind of frameworks are creating them for you. May I know your name? I'm Ajay. Buddy, you can click this link to know my LinkedIn profile. Right, Balakrishna. My name is Ajay. Okay, there are too many questions from Ashish. I mean, DX. I don't know, buddy. I mean, like, I'm going to stop. I'm talking relentlessly for the last 1 hour. But thanks for joining, everyone. Thanks for asking good questions. Yeah, I hope it was useful. See you again in the next video. If you like the video, like I always say, if you like the video, go ahead and like it. If you like the video, go ahead and like it. If you feel that I want to make something or improve something in the channel, definitely comment that. I'll meet you in another video. Thank you very much. See you again. Bye bye.